Welcome, everybody, to another session at this year's Illuminate. I'm Sam Fell. I'm joined today by our friend Omar Concobo from Ulta Beauty. And the session title today is Time for a Makeover. Ulta Beauty shares its story of cloud migration. Omar, can I ask you to introduce yourself? Tell the folks a little bit about you.
Hi, glad to be here today. Our name is Omar Kankobo, so I lead the e-commerce and digital channels at Ulta Beauty. I've been with the company about 10 years now. I have overall 15 years experience in the IT field in various disciplines, worked in retail, trading, insurance, pharmacy. I'm a coffee farmer. I love tea, and my favorite sport is soccer. Right, or back in other part of the world, you call it football. So
Yeah,
happy to be here. Looking forward to this.
lovely. It's great to see you here. So 10
Thank
years
you.
experience at Ulta Beauty. You've seen quite a transformation at that company, and we're going to talk a little bit about that now. Let's go to the next
Right.
slide. So, Omar, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ulta Beauty?
Ulta Beauty is the largest beauty retailer in the U.S. So we actually specialize in cosmetics, fragrance, skincare, and hair care products. Our company was established back in 1990, and one of our what do you call that? One of our go-to our motto is to bring together all beauty in one place, all in one place. Today, Ulta Beauty has grown to become the top national retailer, and we operate about 1,300 stores across the whole United States.
That's amazing. Yeah, and to think about the fact that over the past 10 years, I mean, the revenue channel that you've developed using a digital marketplace and the digital way of approaching your customers, I mean, is there some sort of a scale that you can help the audience understand what kind of growth you've helped Ulta Beauty develop at Ulta over the course of that time?
A huge growth, actually. When I joined Ulta, the digital e-commerce channel was basically a couple of $100 million channel. Today, the e-commerce channel is over $2 billion channel. So
Wow,
over the 10 years, yeah, we've grown that really tremendous growth and,
that's incredible.
continue to grow. Yeah, thank you.
That's incredible. Let's find
Yeah,
out a little bit about how you did that. Let's go to the next slide.
happy to
You're leading me
share.
right down the primrose path here. That's
Right.
amazing. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your situation as it was. What are some of the things that you were running into, some of the problems that you were running into?
Well, the current stack was really cumbersome to um, improve. So we have a slow rollout time, and given the technology stack that we're running, so the customer experience was really difficult to come by. Any small change requires a lot of changes. Customization was really hard because of the kind of technology that we're running, right?
Mm,
So it was really difficult to make a change. I mean, any single line of code change requires you to deploy the whole stack, right? So it was really, really difficult, right? So one of the key pain point was, come holiday, it was really challenging to think about how we're going to make things work, right? During holiday, we really get a huge amount of traffic, right? Our guest enthusiasm to, shopping us during the holidays is huge. So we end
hmm
up in a situation where the capacity that you need to run the holidays, it is so big that you wouldn't use it for the rest of the year. So you end up in a situation where you have to grow tenfold to support the holidays when you only need 1% of that to run during the normal traffic, right? So during normal traffic, you only using probably less than 75% of your capacity. So then it becomes a waste when you have to build all that and then only use partial part of it during your normal day to day. So those
And
are
so
all the
this was
challenges.
with your legacy stuff, you were over provisioned. You couldn't scale
Exactly.
up and scale down. So you were carrying this infrastructure for the full year, but really only needing it a couple of months out of the year.
After the
Which I think it's
year.
probably, yeah, probably like a lot of our customers nowadays, although the sort of the digital transformation, I think more and more people are using that channel, certainly evidenced by the revenue that you were talking about. I think more and more people are really leaning into this channel all year round. I'm assuming that, 90% of your revenue doesn't still come during a couple days at the end of the year, right?
Right,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so these were a bunch of the challenges that you were seeing. Let's go to the next slide, and we could talk a little bit about
Yeah.
what that looked like.
Right. So basically what we've done is to look into how do we modernize, how do we optimize and get us into a situation where we can solve those issues that we talked previously, right? So one of the way to do this is to migrate to the cloud and establish a platform that's cloud native, and that allows us to quickly scale as needed. Now we evaluated three different partners, and we ended up selecting GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and the reasons was one of the features that we've seen with Google was very innovative. They were really rich on features that we needed, and some cool stuff that we were going to actually need down the road. One of the reasons why we decided to go with Google also is that they were very responsive. Anytime we had a question, they were quickly back to us and actually hand holding and supporting us and helping us understand how things are going. So we thought, hey, if these guys are so supportive and helping, there could be the right support partner that we need when we get to the cloud, right? So we want to make sure that as this team is coming new to the cloud, we have the right partners that are going to hold our hands at the onset to make sure that we are establishing the right patterns before we start running by ourselves, right? So the need to also reduce time that we spend maintaining our infrastructure, because currently we're running on physical infrastructure, and
Mm-hmm.
that basically taking that away from the team gives us time to focus more on delivering software that actually impacts the business, that gives more what do you call that more ROI to the business instead of spending time supporting the hardware. So
Fussing around with
those were
infrastructure.
driving.
Yeah.
Right,
You're moving
exactly.
up, you're moving a layer up the stack to the application and services.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah. So then,
I
and the
love it.
infrastructure support piece goes away. So more time to give to the business and focus on the business drivers, the user experience, the logic that drives the business.
Right. Excellent. So that's a big change for your organization. That means that you can reallocate some of those that horsepower, those people, towards doing higher value sort of work. So let's take a look. If we go to the next slide, let's take a little bit a look at sort of what the architecture looked like then versus now, and how much more
Right.
simplified you've sort of made things. So you want to talk through this for our audience?
Yes, definitely. I mean, as you can see, to the left is the legacy stack. As you can see, it's really complex. I don't know how to explain this, but it looks more like Uh, I mean, again, I don't want to badmouth this so much because, again, it grew the company and the channel to a $2 billion channel. But boy, I
Yeah.
mean, it was really difficult just keeping it up. I mean, provisioning a server alone could take you, 4 weeks to 8 weeks, right? So those were really big challenges. As you can see, I mean, when you look to the right, it's really simplified, very, very simplified compared to what you're looking at in the left. And we think and we believe that this is going to drive us to the modernization that we're looking at and looking for. So yeah, more to come on this actually. So
All
so a
right.
lot, a lot.
So the
Yep,
left-hand side, that was your monolith,
yep,
right? That's the big, then
yep.
you said that when you had to redeploy, you had to redeploy the whole monolith, right? There's
The
no
whole
individual
monolith.
services. And on the right-hand
Yep,
side here, this is the architectural, a much cleaner architectural view where you start to have different services that are being managed independently that your teams can work on independently, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So to the right, the focus has been more, microservice API first approach. So to your point, we can actually deploy a specific service and the rest of the system remains intact, right? So you can pick
Hmm.
and choose where you make enhancement. You can pick and this allows you to actually deploy faster, where you could actually be deploying several times a day without even impacting the whole infrastructure because you're only changing one single component, and if there is a problem, you can roll that back, right? So that's a big difference from the monolith that we're running, and the fact that we're running that on physical hardware as well, right? It doesn't lend itself to flexibility.
Yeah.
One example: if I wanted to change memory or if I wanted to change CPU today in the legacy system, that's like weeks. So first you have to go and say, okay, let's bump this memory. Do we even have the memory modules in place? If we don't, then you have to order those and then bring it. In the right hand side, you don't have to worry about all those, right? So basically, you just go. It's a portal. You provision the memory size you need, and then off to you running again. You don't
Off to
need
the
to.
races.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
it is a much more efficient and much more nimble and much more flexibility for us as we try to continue growing our channel, right? So it is definitely a big change. It's a game changer.
That's great. And I imagine a lot of the folks of you out in the audience that are watching this right now, um, you've experienced this. Your companies are going through this transformation, through this migration. And so some good lessons here, some good information from Omar. Awesome, Omar. So when we start thinking about what your logical system then looks like today, let's go to the next slide and let's talk a little bit about how responses that come in from the web are being responded to, requests coming from the web are being responded to by Ulta.
Right. So the migration approach we've taken is to go a piecemeal approach. Some would call it strangulation, where
The
you move
strangler,
feature.
yep. Mm-hmm,
A triangular
mm-hmm,
approach, right? Where you move pieces from the old legacy system into the new system. Now, in order
mm-hmm.
to do that, obviously, you have to continue routing traffic between your old and your new system. And this is how we've approached it. So, some of the requests will still go to our legacy system, while some of the requests will be going to our new platform. And eventually, and slowly as we move, everything here is going to be moving over to the top part of the slide where everything sits in GCP in our microservices.
Excellent. And there is interesting diagram. There's an interesting logo on this slide that I think that we want to call out for folks. We're not going to tell them what it is, but traffic is going to both of these places. There's a lot of data egress. And
Correct.
so coming up, there's going to be a little, if you wait till the end, there's going to be a little trick from
Yeah,
Omar to help you understand how to
yeah,
reduce that egress cost.
exactly. And yeah, keep this slide, keep this architecture in mind. We'll see this again, and then we'll go through those details in a moment.
Fantastic. All right, so you've got some stuff on premise and some stuff now living in the cloud.
Yep.
Let's go to the next slide, and you can start talking us through how are you managing your estate now.
Right. So having some stuff in legacy, having some stuff in the new microservices platform requires a lot of monitoring. So basically, you're monitoring two platforms. So what we do is we monitor both our performance and also we watch for security, meaning what is happening in that is not related to your application working, but what else are you seeing besides that, right? So one of the things that we watch is our error rates, right? So that's a way for us to gauge how stable and how healthy our platform is. We also watch for our order volume, right? So how many orders are we taking per minute, and from the different channels and the amount of orders that we take in, right? So those are all things that we watch and then we monitor those. and it helps us gauge how stable our new stack is.
So hold on a minute, Omar. So these aren't technical metrics, order volume, and or these are business metrics that we're looking at here.
Right.
Tell me a little bit more about that. That's pretty incredible. So you're looking at making sure the number of orders that are coming in per minute, I guess, are consistent and that they're not zero, so that you don't have a bad promotion or a shopping cart problem. There's revenue coming in associated with these orders. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. And this, as you can see here, yes, a lot of these are business metric. And to your point, yes, so we're watching this. This is our dashboard that we want to be watching, make sure that we're getting our order count. We know our average orders, we know our trends, so we watch for those, right? So how many hours orders we take in a full hour, or the revenue for the day, right? So we keep an eye on those. One of the things that we also watch is how many orders are getting systemically canceled, right? So if you look at the red square, that's how many orders that we've taken from our customers. It went to the warehouse, but for some reason got canceled. And we want to keep those numbers low. So if the numbers are high, we want to understand exactly what's going on at the distribution center. So this not only allows us to monitor and keep an eye on our side, but also keep an eye on our warehouse to make sure things are going okay on that side. Right.
Yeah, and
We
that could be also indicative of a bigger problem where people thought they were buying something, then realized later that they weren't. So it could have been a marketing problem. There could have been a lot of problems there.
It could be a lot of problems. It could be that our inventory is having some issues where in the site we have some numbers, but then when it goes to the distribution center, it is something totally different. So then where's the disconnect? So this allows us to link all the end-to-end channel to make sure that we're monitoring everything end to end, not just taking the orders, right? So it is not only a business metric, but also allows us to quickly see what's happening end to end.
To go underneath that, because I'm sure you're also looking at, as we talked about, you're looking at the Google infrastructure, you're looking at the network, you're looking at the CDN, you're looking at all of those things as components of this end user experience, but ultimately the big metrics that you folks are tracking on this one, at least, were number of orders and the dollar amount of those orders, which is a really interesting business metric.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So in addition to reliability, security is something that you said that you cared for. So let's talk a little bit about what you do for security.
Right. So for security, we do monitor, and I believe we do have some.
Hit the next slide. You got your screenshot right there. Those.
So for security, we watch for a lot of things, right? So these days and age, you have a lot of hacks happening in different sites. So what your bad guys will do will take those username and password and just run them through other sites to see what's going on. So we monitor for those. And this is where Sumo really comes in handy for us in monitoring all these. We can check and see how many invalid password attempts are happening, right? So that can tell us, hey, there's something going on here. We can look at how many non-existing accounts are being tried, right? We can tell, okay, somebody might have run into a bunch of users and just running them through the site. And we also monitor how many login requests are happening on the site. And then besides that, we look at also where these IPs are coming from, right? So if I have 2,000 requests coming from one single IP, that's definitely a bad guy, right? So we have right. So we look at, top 10 incorrect password attempts. We look at non-existent password, top 10 hits, right? And then we also look at, the attempts by country. So if you look at your top 10 IPs and look at and see, okay, all these requests are coming from these same IPs, then you can tell. I mean, a normal user wouldn't be sending more than 20 requests in a second from the same IP, right?
Right.
I don't care how far.
And just a shout out. So we've made sure that nobody can see the names of the folks, but the IP addresses of the bad actors, we left those open. We didn't obscure those. So if you want to try and do anything nefarious to those IP addresses, they're bad actors anyways. So you're welcome to do whatever you want with those bad IP addresses.
Right.
So this is really helpful for you to understand And again, business related things like people are trying to log in, but it's not a valid login,
It's
which,
not. Yeah,
right, as a infrastructure problem, that's not an infrastructure problem, but it is a
correct.
potential problem for your business, which you're able to monitor, which I think is really, really cool.
Exactly, and this is really important for our loss prevention team. This really comes in and is very important for them because Ulta does have a loyalty system where a lot of these bad actors actually try to get into these accounts, and the first thing they go for is the loyalty account, right? You may have $200 on your loyalty account. That's something that can be sold out, right? So this basically allows it to watch and say, okay, and even in this, we do have more monitoring in place that can tell us even how many of these attempts were successful, right? So then we can keep an eye on those. And one of the things we could do with those is that, okay, out of the 2,000 that they tried, 10 were successful, and they all came from a bad IP. So those users are up for password reset, right? And then we
Aha.
automatically set those requests. So these are some of the things that we do with this monitoring and
Nice.
these dashboards that we put in place.
Lovely. I love that. That's yeah, you have to protect that revenue stream.
Oh
You
yes,
can't
you
you
have
can't
to.
just let it be out there and let people do whatever they want
Yeah,
with it. So that's really interesting. So you're resetting those
exactly.
passwords because
Yeah,
somebody else may have done something to those accounts. That's
exactly,
really interesting.
exactly, exactly.
Awesome. All right, next slide, Omar.
Yeah. All right. So this is again one. I mean, this dashboard is actually the favorite dashboard at Ulta Beauty. So our leadership and business partners watch this dashboard very very closely, especially during our peak season during the holidays, right? So it gives them here an order per minute rate, and that order per minute square actually changes color based on how fast the orders are going. So, and then we also break them up in all the different channels where those orders are coming from, right? So whether it's the app, the web, or buy online, pick up in store, all those are tracked. And then we also track again how many orders in the hour or so. And one a key feature in this dashboard that's really interesting is our add to bag, the very bottom one. During our holiday season, when the let's say that even starts at 4 p.m., you can
Mm,
tell how excited the users are by looking at that bottom dashboard because they will basically be coming in and adding item to cart and waiting for the event to start and the price to flip. And you can see the excitement on that dashlet because you can see growing and you can
interesting.
tell, holy cow, things are going to be really hot when the event starts. So it is like a precursor, like maybe like a crystal ball for us to say, okay, are we going to to be,
Nice.
doing great, So those are really nice, interesting
So that
dashboards.
bottom dashboard there, the lighter
Yep,
green bar will just keep going up until all of a sudden the price flips, and then those
exactly.
carts that have that product in it will all just sort of try and transact. So you better be able to
Exactly.
handle all those transactions at once. Um,
Exactly.
but I can see how
Yep.
your mouth would be watering looking at all those people loading their carts up with all this product. That's amazing.
Exactly right.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So and the OPM, even though we have a dashboard here, the OPM also comes as an alert for us in our normal day to day. We work with our business partners, and we can expect based on the marketing and the promotion going, we would know how many orders per minute we can expect, right? If
OPM,
out
orders
of
per
the
minute. Gotcha.
Exactly, OPM orders per minute. If out of the blue we cross that threshold, we're going to get an alert because we wouldn't expect that to go beyond that. And anytime we get that alert, we'll go back and take a look and make sure everything is okay. This also is coupled with another alert that we get from Sumo that we call average order value. The average order value is basically telling us in the past 15 minutes, this is how much a basket costs, right? So some people come in, they have two, three items in the cart, and then we do an average. those are numbers that we also work with our business partners on. It's based on the promotions that we have ongoing. We know that the average order value shouldn't be more than $60, right? So it shouldn't be more than 60. It shouldn't be lower than $60. Now, let's say, we, having a great day, and then out of nowhere, we get an alert that the average order value is down to $20. Then Sam, something is wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't sound so good. That's right.
Right. So, and this, protected us and allowed us to actually, save costs and actually stop cost overruns, in the sense that at one point there was a promotion that was set wrong that
Yep.
basically was giving everything free on the site. So if everything is free on the site, the only thing that you pay is shipping. Shipping is $5. So if my average order value is $5, I know there's something wrong on the site.
There's a
Right?
problem. Yeah.
There's
That's a
problem.
quick
And
way to
that-
get to bankruptcy right there. You just give all your product away. That's the .com way of doing things,
That's
right?
exactly right. And that Sumo alert will actually trigger a backend job that's going to go and stop all the orders from flowing to our warehouse, because the moment they hit the warehouse, they're just basically packing and shipping. So it's difficult to retrieve and stop things the moment they hit the warehouse. So all
Yep.
these alerts that we have in place actually helps us protect the site and help us, recover in the situation where we have these kind of issues.
Love it. Love it. All right. Now I know we've got one more thing that we wanted to share with people. And this is the one last slide here. One more slide over.
Yep.
Do folks out there want to know how Omar saved a bunch of money every month on egress fees from Google? This may be the best reason for you to stay for this whole session. So why don't you go ahead and walk them through it, Omar?
Right. So basically, anybody working in this cloud environment do know that there's an egress cost. Egress cost means anytime your traffic goes out of the cloud partner to anywhere, you basically charged for that traffic. So, and this is basically a way that we were incurring that cost as well, right? So if you remember the slide that we showed earlier, we have the DSOTF, which is our digital store pages coming out of GCP directly to our guest. So that by doing this, you basically just pay anytime that traffic comes out of GCP. So what we did was to work with our CDN provider. And in this case here, for us, it's Akamai. Akamai has what we call an interconnect between their platform and GCP. So if you use that interconnect, it's basically just using a dedicated pipe that doesn't egress out of GCP. It egresses out of that interconnect to your CDN, to your customers. So effectively just basically neutralizing your egress cost that you have to pay from Google side. So we've been leveraging this, and this has saved us tons of money, because now it's a website. As you can see, there is a lot of traffic going out. So by using the interconnect and bypassing those, we save a lot of money, and you still get the same performance. You still get the same speed in traffic. So it's been a way for us to reduce our egress cost for everything, right? Including our Sumo egress and everything, all being able to save by leveraging Akamai.
Awesome tip. Awesome thing for folks in the audience to know about. Hit the next slide. I think we're at the end of the session, Omar. Time for you to tell folks what your lessons learned were, and then wrap it up.
Right. So this has been a great migration. It's been challenging. It's been also it tested a lot of our leadership patience, and in that path we lost a lot of great talents. And one of the things that we were looking at and say, okay, if we had to redo this, we're going to do it in multi-year, because the way we approached this was like, hey, this is a project we can knock out in a year and a half. And that hasn't been the case, because it was really a big I mean, the transformation is really huge, right?
Mm.
Don't underestimate it. Take your time, lay out things, go piece by piece. At the end of the day, you have a platform to protect, you have revenue to protect. Again, if you're building something from new, if you're building a whole new greenfield app, fine. I mean, you can do that because you have nothing to lose. But if you're migrating a legacy system to this new platform, you need to be mindful of, the revenue that you need to protect. So by moving from the old to the new, you shouldn't be impacting your revenue. You shouldn't be seeing a dip because you're improving. And with your improvement, your numbers should be showing that, right? So those are things that you need to keep in mind and really take your time, plan this well, and take time to move and work with the vendors that you trust to help you find a solution that you need to solve the day-to-day problems. We've done that a lot, and even our customer success managers at Sumo can tell you how often they came in and got into GCP with us, looking at ways for us to better monitor our GKE stack, right? So
Yeah,
that
not
kind of
only
support.
Sumo, but Akamai, finding that relationship,
Yes,
the interconnect with
Akamai,
them. There's a business value
right.
for you there for sure.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
love it.
Google himself. I mean, yeah. So basically, don't never say no to any help you can get because it's really a tough transition.
I
Never
love that.
underestimate
And
it.
it's a great way to end your session, Omar. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of people out there who can help you with that. Omar, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Congratulations on all the great work you're doing at Ulta Beauty. And we will talk to everybody later. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. It's been a great pleasure. Happy to share the experience and looking forward to, you know, yeah, the
Awesome.
future.
That's right. Yeah, we're excited to see what you're going to do next.